Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Mom's Always Invited, the podcast. I have two very special guests today. Do you all want to introduce yourself so I don't ruin the surprise?
Hi, everyone. I am Marquis James, and I am the owner of Bovanti Cosmetics. And we have my sister on the line,
Hi
Marquel.
everyone. Hi everyone. My name is Marquel McGowan. I am the co-owner of Bovanti Cosmetics as well as the vice president of Bovanti Corporation.
And we have a physical location in Greensboro, North Carolina. Marquel is in Maryland, and she handles a lot of the marketing and the online and social media for Bovanti. And I'm here in Greensboro at the retail location where we head up all the mail orders and enhancing all the beauty of the women down here.
Amazing. And most importantly, I just want to point out that you all are both mothers. So we have some CEO moms in the building today, and we're going to find out all the nitty and gritty and how they feel about their little one. Okay, so let's just jump right in. When you all first found out, how did you find out the news that you were pregnant? And how did the father react when you told him?
Marquel, you want me to go first?
I'll go first on that one. So for me, I was actually with my sister trying out wedding dresses, and I was like, "Oh, where's my period? What's happening?" And my sister, like nobody really like thought of anything. I didn't think of anything of me being, pregnant. I had no idea, but I just knew it was missed. And I went back home I lived in DC at the time. I went back home in DC with my husband, and then I took an actual test. And as soon as I took that test, I was kind of shocked, a little nervous, a little scared, especially because I have, obviously have never been in that experience. And when I was in that experience, my husband, he was very comforting to me. He didn't freak out. He wasn't nervous. He was more together than I was. I was kind of like nervous, And so he was like, okay, let's call the doctor, So we immediately called the doctor and see what was our next steps. So we were on the phone with Kaiser, and the nurse kind of just laid out what we're supposed to do. Like, we don't need to see you just yet. You're good to go for a few more weeks, and then we'll, set an appointment to see you. But it went very smooth. I was nervous, and I was kind of just scared, you're apprehensive because of it's something new. So that was my story.
All right, Marquis.
Yes.
So your little one is new. So
yes,
how old
he's
is
3 months today.
Okay, right.
Today.
So your news is a little fresh. So
yes.
So
Jason and I have been married for 2 years, and it's not that we was planning to have a child yet, but I knew I wanted to have a child. He knew we wanted to have a child together. And so what happened was I downloaded this app to to get pregnant, because every time we would try, nothing would happen. But I'm not going to give all the credit to the app, because it's God that was all in the making of everything. But it was one particular day, and it said that this was gonna happen, but I was like, no, it ain't gonna happen on there. So I just kind of like brushed it off, because I'm like, what? Why would an app like know this? Like, why? And so
was it an ovulation? Did it say you're ovulating, or did it say you're fertile, or what?
Fertile. They said I was going to be fertile on this day, but no one really told me that it had to be it's only like 1 or 2 days that you could get pregnant in a month. I didn't know that. And I wasn't looking to get pregnant right then. I was really focused on my business, grinding in that, and not really focused on having a child right then, or period. So I just downloaded the app and went along with it. And when I missed my period, I was just like, oh, it's gonna come in a few days, even though I know for sure that it comes exactly on the same time. But I didn't think that I was gonna be pregnant. That was not my first idea. So then then I told my sister, and then she was like, girl, go get a pregnancy test. I said I went to go get one, and my husband came with me, and took the test, and I sent it to Marquel, and it was like, what was it? The 2 lines, but 1 line was faded, and it said, and I took 2 tests. It said no, so I said, I'm not pregnant, Marquel. And she gonna send me some girl. Yes, you are. Don't you see the other line is faded?
I had the same exact scenario with mine. So I knew like the one to the far left, if it's faded, like you can barely see it, but it's there, then you are. Like the one, like how the test itself is set up, it's like the far left. If that one is, prominent by itself and the one to the right is not there, that means not pregnant. But if you have a line for sure on the far right, then it means that you are. So I kind of knew that she was, but she was like, I'm not sure. I'm like, no, yeah, you are.
I didn't want to believe it, basically, even though, because I took 2 tests and one test said yes, and the other test said that had the line. It said yes, and I was like, no, it can't be. It's not true.
She said, my eyes are deceiving me. Okay.
Exactly. So I was in shock. I was like, how I'm gonna do this? I'm like, my business, who's gonna watch my child? How I'm gonna do all this? And it's kind of like when you put yourself in that situation and you give it to, all my mind was just trapped up and thinking like, how am I going to have a baby, have a business, live my life, have a husband? How I'm gonna do all this? And you have to like sit back and you don't worry about it and let God pull out, take the steps, and everything's going to unfold. I was able to find, a manager. I had a girl, and had her to become the manager, and I was training her. So when I did have the baby, I would be able to work it out. It's kind of like God knew what was going to happen, and he was setting me up and putting the right people in place, having me to be prepared for this time. And we wasn't doing a lot of trade shows with Bovanti. So it's kind of like the perfect timing to have a child. I've been like so hustle and bustle all my life. And it's like, Marquis, slow down. You got a baby now. And that's kind of like how it happened. And my husband, he was so supportive. He was so excited. Like me over here crying like, what am I gonna do? And so even though my reaction wasn't as excited, it was that I was in my mind thinking that, oh my gosh, I have so much. How am I gonna do it? And my husband was there, and I took a deep breath, and I was like, I got this. And talked to my sister, she helped me. She's like, we got this.
Right. That's refreshing. It's always refreshing when you have somebody that went through it before you. But I find that there were so many things my sisters and my mother didn't tell me, or like advice that I didn't receive, or things maybe they didn't go through that I had to go through by myself. So being that you both also are, at the top of your game running your businesses, is there anything that anyone neglected to tell you about how it is to run a business and be a mom at the same time? Like, I know there's a lot of unsolicited advice that we all receive, that you all probably received. But is there anything that you can think of? Like, I wish somebody would have told me that while I was running this business and I had this baby blank. Anything that you can think of?
So for me personally, I kind of laugh at Marquis all the time because in 2018, I felt like I was pregnant the entire year, right? It was like all of the whole 12 months, I felt like I had it locked on lock. So, but I kept telling Marquis, like, I can't really do as much as you want me to. And then especially when I had my son, I kind of made Marquis like, to let her know, like, I'm not as available as I once was because now I have another responsibility to have to take care of. And Marquis she felt a way, of course, because she wasn't a mother at that time. She didn't understand. But once she became in those shoes, Marquis told her she's 100%, she gets it now. You know what I mean? But before I was like, Marquis, I can't. Like, I'm like send an email. I got to do all this stuff. My son's nursing. So I wasn't able to do everything right then how she wanted it done. And I think people neglect to realize that as mothers, you really are superheroes. And it's kind of hard to adjust, especially right now it's perfect because a lot of women are working from home, but even working from home, it gets stressful, right? Because the kids are literally running around. Like mine, he's running all circles around me, literally. And and it's kind of hard. So a lot of women, they really like, I'm amazed half the time that us as women, we actually are super women. Like we can do it all. Have your child running wild behind you and still running a business. Like it just really, really is amazing. And my sister is in the same boat now. She has a 3-month-old and he crying in the background of events. I mean, of Zoom calls and such, and she's still handling it. She's still working it out. So it's amazing. I think we don't talk about that enough, about how well we do. And people kind of, even Marquis, when she first started, she felt like it was a lot. but Marquis was doing great. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, as women, we kind of go down on ourselves because we're like, oh, it's stressful. It's new territory. But, you know, we just do so much. And I think with that, a lot of people never really talk about how well we do as women and as mothers together.
And that's refreshing to hear, because we have a lot to balance. Like you said, you know, I saw a meme the other day on Instagram that said, I just don't understand how people can raise kids, take care of kids, cook dinner, go to work, make sure they do laundry, cook dinner, make sure you play with your kids, then make sure you have your hair, nails, everything all done up just so that you could look like something. And like Marquis said earlier, have a husband, have a life. I don't know how people do it. And I was just thinking, like, we do that, don't we?
We do all of that.
We do all of that.
You
know? But go ahead, Marquis. I want to hear from you too.
Yes. So I guess what no one really told me is that you got to give yourself grace during this whole process. And that's really what it is. You have to give yourself grace and give yourself time to figure it out, how you're going to do it. Because when I first had the baby, I gave Marquel everything to do within the first, few weeks or so. And I had my manager, which I trusted, and she did a phenomenal job. But it was being able to trust that things are going to get done. Mm-hmm. And that hasn't become anything hard for me. It's like in business, you have to learn how to trust people, because if you don't, you're going to be nitpicking, overseeing, doing that, because people are going to make mistakes all the time. And so that's what I learned, that I could trust somebody to do it, and they make a mistake. We just got to get it together from there. And just learning that, as Marquel had said earlier, is that I did not know half the stuff that she was going through. And I kind of like slighted it. I really didn't like, Marquel, come on, you can get this email out. You can do this. But me not knowing what she was going through, I may have been more demanding on her and didn't give her that time to give her that grace or give her that understanding, because I wasn't a mom. I didn't know that you had to be right there, or all this is going on and you sleep when the baby sleep, and you really can't sleep when the baby sleep, but you got to get all this. You got to get your orders out. You got to get your products out. You got to do this. You got to make sure you do payroll. You ain't got time to really sleep. And so it's just now just being able to say no to certain things, balancing and learning what you can do, in a time frame. And then not beat yourself up about it. Like, if I don't get the dishes done, I just don't. If I don't get the laundry done, I just don't. If I don't get this done, I just don't. And I put on the thing for next day.
Right. And they want you to be present. It's not about all those other things, because like you said, they'll get done at some time or another. But I know that you mentioned that there were some things you didn't know that, Marquel was going through, right? So across the board, that happens in relationships. Once you get pregnant, once you get married, once you maybe move out of state, go to school, leave other people behind, right? So did any of your relationships or friendships change, or maybe even career opportunities that you thought you might venture off to do? Did any of those things change once you got pregnant and had children? Or is there an experience that you remember or that you recall that you feel like speaking about or is worth talking about in terms of there being a change in any type of relationship, whether it's business or personal? Anything you all can think of?
I don't think I had any personal relationships that kind of changed because I, was pregnant, or because I had to really focus on my son. I think all of my core people are my core people. I had a friend that helped me weed some people out. I had a friend to help me weed some people out.
She's good at it. She's good at it.
A friend. But I had somebody to help weed some people out. But honestly, my core people are my core people. I probably have, and I say this to Heezy all the time, I literally probably maybe 6 friends. And he's like, no, you got more than 6 friends. I'm like, no, 6 people that I know I can call and count on. Probably not that many. You know what I mean? And I know I got these core people that are in my corner regardless of anything, right? And so And I definitely haven't had any issues with anybody outside of that. Now, of course, before I got married, absolutely. But while I was pregnant, I had so many different supporters, especially while I was pregnant. I had one of my good friends, Brandy. She was actually pregnant the exact same time as me. And we have our babies, they're day apart.
Oh, wow.
So, yes, Max was born January 14th. And Penny, her daughter's name is Penelope, was born January 15th. They literally a day apart. So we were like talking the entire time. Her baby was due like, supposed to have been due like maybe 4 days prior to Max, but she was late. So she became, a day afterwards. So I had somebody to talk to all the time about the different trimesters, what we eating today, So I had good relationships with people like that. And then I had another friend who was already pregnant than you as well. So you guys already went through it before I had the opportunity to go through it. So it was really, it's helpful to have a friend who knows exactly what they're doing, and you can call and, tell them what's going on.
Okay.
And I would say for me, I had, of course, I had my sister there. And as far as like new relationships, actually, some of my line sisters that I haven't really talked to in a long time, they came out of nowhere, just supporting me and talking with me and checking in on me. And 3 of my line sisters was having children around the same time. My line sister, Michelle, she had one earlier, and she was one of the ones who was really like, Marquis, how you doing? How are you doing? How are you feeling? And just giving those constant reminders. And then my line sister, Janelle, and my line sister, Kyra, we all had children like back to back to back. And we was all in this chat together, just talking it out, and Xavier, and just becoming our own tribe. And I didn't realize, when certain people are just coming there or in your life for a reason and to uplift you, encourage you. And it was just random. I hadn't heard from people in years, and they like, Marquis, how you doing, girl? This is what you need to do right here with this baby, right with your baby. This is da 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 da. Did he do this yet? Da 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 da. So it was just encouraging to have people just come out of nowhere to help you and promote and encourage you throughout the pregnancy, basically.
Right.
People I would have never thought to come, to help.
Yeah. And it's always amazing when that happens. I actually had the opposite happen to me, like I always talk about. I think that I stopped hearing from a lot of people. So to hear that you all have the opposite happen, that's good news, because I find that it's either like Marquel said, you have your core group of people that aren't going anywhere. And I have that too, but people started to switch it up in terms of just like how you mentioned, Marky, you had people checking in, like there was nobody checking in. It was just kind of like, I'm just here by myself, unless you're, it's like, people were like, oh, well, you got a baby now. I'm not going to invite you to anything. And one of my friends even mentioned that. She was like, yeah, I know those invitations have kind of slowed down. And I was like, you know what? I haven't been anywhere. People are still having birthdays, right? So it was different for me. It was different for me. So I had to go through that for a little while too, especially because my kids were back to back. So I guess people were like, oh, she really not doing nothing. She got 3. Not today. But I wanted to ask also, how do you all decide when it's time to turn off being businesswoman or turn off being mommy and go back to being businesswoman? When do you know, or how do you know when you're doing too much? It's easy to recognize when you're overwhelmed, but I know that this is your business, you own it, you're an entrepreneur, so you're very passionate. So how do you know when it's time to relax and let your hair down and not even think about the business, if there's a time like that?
When you got your baby crying in front of you.
That's it. Only at the most extreme moment. That's it.
No, I'm joking. Well, I'm only 3 months in, but but yes, I would say it's kind of like you have to like really schedule it out. Marquel knows, like, Marquel, I can't talk to you right now. I have to do this. I can't do this right now. It's just really, I'm still learning. Markel's already a pro at 2 years already. So, I'm just still learning how to balance everything and do everything. And then canceling certain things out, or knowing that you can't take the baby, you got to plan for the baby, all of that. So Just know I'm a work in progress.
As you should be. 3 months in, and she said you're doing an amazing job. So I know it's probably an amazing job that you're doing for real, for real. Marquel is
a pro.
I was just gonna say we got all the experience. So if she's saying that you're doing well, you're doing well. Marquel, how are you able to turn off businesswoman mode and enter into mommy mode? Is there anything that when you feel it in your body or when you start feeling too stressed? Of course, it's easy to know when you're overwhelmed, like I mentioned, but is there a way where you know, like, okay, every day, 8:00, that's it. I'm turning my phone off. Don't call me. Or, you know, weekend. I had a professor when I was in grad school. She told me that she didn't talk on Sundays because, you know, I was in school to be a social worker. And she said, all I do is talk all week. And my family knows on Sundays, I don't talk. Like, they know not to speak to me, not to approach me, don't text me. She says she spends the whole day in silence. So I want to know if you all have any ways to, or boundaries that you've set for yourself like that.
Unfortunately, I'm not there yet. I am 24 hours. I'm literally a 24-hour mom. Unfortunately, I haven't made it to that point yet. I would love to turn off, but I can't. The only time I literally turn off is if I get sick, and then my body has shut off, you know. But I just personally, I do not shut off. I would love to. Of course, you can't shut off motherhood. Of course, that's forever. And then even with business, it's kind of hard to shut business off because I'm constantly doing things. And like now we had a social media manager. Now I'm social media now, you know, I've taken the reins back, you know, so it's kind of like, I personally have to be there for the business. And we talking like me and Marquis texting at like 2 a.m. ideas, it's literally, especially if you have your own business, if I know, I could text Marquis at 3 a.m., she's going to text me right back at like maybe 15 minutes later. So I know that, you know, like it's literally like the grind of an entrepreneur is totally different than a person that's doing 9 to 5, because our grind never stops, literally. So we are 24 hours, like all day, every day. I probably went to bed at like 2:30 last night, just off the strength of just like doing extra stuff that I have to do. But it's never, for us, I personally have not got to that point yet. And I pray that to the good Lord that he gives me a space, to kind of shut down. But yeah, I'm not there yet. I would love to be there. But right now, Marquis and I, we just have to grind so hard to put our business in a position where we don't have to work so hard, basically.
And I think Marquel and I we work together so well as a team, and we're so understanding for each other now. Now that we both have children, we already know, like, okay, I can't do this, you can do this, and vice versa. And so we work very well together. And we have this end goal of what we know our brand should be, and we keep putting in the work to make sure we get there. And we're not gonna let it stop us. And our children just gonna keep encouraging us because we want them to live a better life than us.
Right. I hear that. Build the empire now. Build it. So being that it's early for you, Marquis, but if you have an answer, I would love to hear from you too. But I want to know if you would do anything differently in terms of your pregnancy or having a baby, in terms of timing or location. Is there anything that you would do differently with your pregnancy or with, you know, the process that you had?
Okay. What I would do differently in my pregnancy, right, Candace?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I would do differently in my pregnancy, I really wouldn't do too much differently. In my pregnancy, I think it all came how it was supposed to be. I wish I probably maybe walk more, or what else? It's like all this, I'm just trying to think of things now that I should have did, could have did, never did. Being more prepared, you know, we was remodeling our home and having the floors up, and literally his mom, my mom, Marquel, had to come into floors, lift it up out the house, everything. It just come into a place that wasn't ready for the child. We was getting ready, and I had more time, at least I thought. But I really don't see anything much differently I would do as far as within the pregnancy. I thought I was going to have more of a natural birth, and I had a C-section. Marquel, I'm putting both of them together.
I'm thinking,
but,
I think for Marquis, she should have listened to her instincts more instead of like outside voices. Marquis, please share with her the water breaking story, because Marquis knew something was up, but she didn't, like, she just let it just, kind of ride. And I think that, like, just especially at the end, at that point.
So I guess at the end of my pregnancy, this is what I would have done differently when it came to me about to have the baby. So like I was saying, I was in Wilmington, North Carolina at my husband's uncle's funeral. And it was like the early morning we was about to leave, the early morning of the day that we was about to leave, that I had to rush to go to the bathroom. And it was like a uncontrollable pee. And so I thought that was my water breaking then, but then I wasn't sure if it was breaking, because I was like, maybe I just had to use the bathroom. I kind of like second guessed myself and just like, oh no. And then it just kept leaking, and I didn't know how the whole experience was supposed to happen. So I didn't know how the whole water breaking experience is supposed to happen. So I didn't know how it's supposed to feel like. So I was like, okay. And then I leaned over to my husband and I said, babe, I don't know if my water broke or not. He was like, I don't know, it probably didn't. So then it got me in my mind thinking like, okay, well, maybe it didn't. And I'm up here researching, okay, so water breaking, what's supposed to happen? And it said that it was supposed to be a gush, and it was supposed to be, I forgot the one word that it said in there that I was like, okay, it was supposed to be a pop. And I was like, I didn't hear no pop. So it can't be no water breaking. So it's just, it's just pee. But I was like, but you know what? It was odorless. And like in my mind, like it was clear. Like it wasn't, I'm just thinking all these things. And
you weren't in pain?
I wasn't in pain.
After the water broke, you weren't in pain?
No, it just I kept leaking all throughout the day. And so when it got getting ready to leave, get on the road, this is 3 hours away now. 3 hours away. And I was like, no, I understand. Why am I still leaking? I was like, I had to get pads. I was like, I didn't think that it was, and somebody was like, it was a something plug, mucus plug or something, mucus something. And they was like, oh, that's it. I was like, okay. So then I was like, but I knew I had a doctor's appointment the next day. So when I got home, I mean, it was 3 hours. Like every hour, I was like, Jason, I gotta stop. And I was like, can you get some pads for me? I was just leaking the whole trip back. So then get home, and we had his cousin in the car with us. We get home and we making all this the whole day going. And I text Marquel. I said, Marquel, I think my water broke, but it was uncontrollable pee. So I don't think that it really broke. So then Marquel didn't say anything else to me about it. So
Marquis she diagnosed herself. She literally was like, what's those pads that you wear? I was like, oh yeah, those are always discreet. Go grab some. Like, I'm literally like, and so she diagnosed herself. She said, well, I don't think it is. And so I automatically was like, okay, well, it's not. But mind you, this is 2 weeks earlier than his due date. So that's why it was kind of like they weren't sure.
It definitely wasn't
not
sure.
so far off though. It's not like we was a month away now.
I know, but then
ask your husband if your husband don't know if your water broke, girl.
He was not even supporting me. He was like,
he was at a funeral. Wasn't y'all at a funeral? He was sad.
He was.
He's like, I don't know, girl. Don't talk to me. I'm sad. Meanwhile, you're trying to be his joy. You're trying to bring him his joy. His joy coming down the whole trip, the whole ride back. His love coming down.
Exactly. And when I wish I would have. I mean, I wish somebody. I don't even know. I didn't even really tell my mom like that, because she probably would have told me to go to the hospital. And it was like everybody's like, "You fine, you fine." I'm like, okay. And so then that night, I was like, okay, I'm just have to figure out what's going on, because I'm gonna have to call and see what's going on. I had a doctor's appointment the next morning. Get to the doctor's appointment. She was like, girl, you got to go to the hospital now. I was like, what? And I was so in shock, like, oh my God, the baby about to happen like right now. And Jason, I mean, everybody didn't look, like, you see all that water down there? You got to go now. And so it was like, had to rush to the hospital and get there. And I didn't eat that morning. So it was like,
perfect. You can't eat before surgery.
But I was not even planned to have surgery. I was just going to have, I was going to do it vaginally. And then the lady was like, his head was down, but he wasn't turned the right way and he wouldn't move. So they kept trying to get all this stuff to get him to move and never did. And so that's the reason why I had to get a C-section. But in the doctor's office, this one lady, I kept telling her, I said, you're gonna be my doctor. She was a Black lady. She was like, I'm not gonna be able to be your doctor because it's gonna be the midwives. I said, I want a Black doctor. I said, that's the whole point why I'm coming here. And she was like, I don't do it for I'm only doing like C-sections. I think I spoke that for her to be my doctor, have a C-section, be a Black doctor. And I wasn't even planning to get a C-section. It just so happened. But God knows what was going on. He was holding my baby while I was so oblivious to what was going on and still took care of him. I mean, because they said I was broken for 36 hours.
Oh my goodness. I was going to ask if you were leaking amniotic fluid overnight, but your whole water was, wow. So you were in active labor.
She had no idea.
I didn't feel nothing hurting. So I didn't know, I even took the natural birthing class. They said, you're going to feel this pain. I never felt anything. And when they told me I was contracted, it wasn't hurting. So I didn't know that was a contraction.
That means you was probably having Braxton Hicks for months. Didn't know.
He was hurting a little bit every now and then, but right. It was probably like, she just thought it was this regular,
Yeah. You was probably having Braxton Hicks for months and didn't know what that was. Okay. Well, wow. What a crazy story. I love it. I love it. Okay. So that's something that you would do differently. You would do what Marquel said, trust your instincts and go to the hospital right away. Okay. And you don't have anything that you would do differently, even if it's not about the pregnancy or about labor and delivery, Marquel, anything that you would do differently now that you know a little bit more?
No, I think I honestly had a easy breezy. Like I say it all the time, my baby did me really well. I had an easy pregnancy. Barely knew I was pregnant. By 5th month, I'm still out here doing the most. And then, after a while, I was like, okay, Marquel, you pregnant, sit down. But for
didn't you go to Vegas?
Right. I'm out here in Vegas, okay? I was definitely in Vegas, okay?
What month was that?
I was at a whole pool party.
Yes, okay? You was at rehab at like 5 months, I want to say.
I was in rehab at 5 months, okay? I was doing me. Virgin daiquiris and such, okay?
Yes, you were. In your bathing suit.
In my bathing suit, okay? I'm out here living. So yes, but for me personally, with my water broke, I actually felt the water breaking, but I couldn't feel I didn't know that it was happening. Like, it was kind of weird. Like, my Founder's Day is January 13th, and my friends was like, "Come on, let's go out, girl. Let's go do this and do that." And we had like a snowstorm, and I really didn't even want to go out because I'm like, "Girl, I'm too big to be falling on some ice. I need to just chill. I'm not going to get out there and do the most." But I had my water broke literally at like 2 a.m. and I'm like, my husband tell me, come on, get up, let's change the sheets. I'm like, boy, right now I'm having a whole issue right now. He ready to change the sheets, but he's like, come on, get up, we gotta change the sheets. And he didn't even believe me that my water broke. And like Marquis said, a pop. I did feel the pop because I literally I felt like something go snap, and I was like, ouch. But I didn't personally I didn't know what it was. I was like, what was that? And I don't know if I felt like Max maybe kicked me, or I don't know what happened. But I end up having to I sat, and we have like a little bench in the shower. I sat in the shower, just kind of cool myself together. He called the hospital, and they kind of told us yep, your water broke, and now it's time, and we kind of just moseyed on to the hospital. And I didn't personally know, but my son had pooped in the womb, and I didn't know. So that's why I had to get a C-section, so he wouldn't inhale meconium. So that was pretty much for my birthing story. But mine was a little smoother. I had a smooth ride the entire time. I think the C-section itself, and Marquis and I, both of us had C-section, both of us have boys. We all,
Me too.
both of our boys had tongue ties. Like we got the same exact child. So yeah, we always laugh at that, like how two sisters have two boys, and everything is identical kind of for both of Marquis and I. So, but other than that, I have no regrets. I had a little book that I wrote a journal in, kind of. It's called Praying Through Your Pregnancy,
and Marquel gave me that book.
That's
Each
amazing.
week, I kind of made it seem like, okay, you want. And I always put this in my my journal. I was like, I didn't know I was gonna have a boy at first. I was like, I want long hair. I want long eyelashes. Look at me in the beauty industry. Long eyelashes, thick eyebrows, and my son has all of that.
He has all of that.
All of that.
All of that. I said, I'm like, next time if I have a girl, I got to be more specific on the girl. But I put like intelligent. I want him like, it was like a full list of like things that you want your child to have. I was like, I want to make sure he doesn't do all that crying, and look at him. He crying still, but. But I know that's only because he's 2 and, terrible 2s right now. But other than that, like, that book kind of helped guide you into how you want your child to be. And you praying over specific things. So like the eyes are forming, like the nails are forming, the fingers, everything that was happening, the hair, everything that was happening, you want to pray over everything that was happening, that it functions well, that they have 10 fingers, 10 toes. So it's actually a really, really cool book. I think all mothers should have that book, Praying Through Your Pregnancy.
Right. I was going to say, I did the same thing. I was praying for every little thing, like that 10 fingers, 10 toes thing. I was adamant about that every night. And you know what? With my second, I prayed that the pregnancy, that it would be easy after. I mean, I had easy pregnancies and all that too. Just gained a whole bunch of weight, ate a whole bunch of food. But I prayed that it would be easy after when I had my son. And it was because I had 2 and I was scared and, I didn't know what was going to be happening. And it was so easy. He slept all the time. He ate when he was supposed to eat. Everything all those milestones, he hit them right on the money. It was like everything he came here to do, he just did it. And he was like, this is what I'm here for. I'm going to do it. And then I had another one and he's just not the 1 or the 2. Okay. He is just, he's like, look, I'm the one. He's letting you know that he's not the one actually. But, it's amazing to see the differences. But I was, by then, I don't know if I was as specific. I did pray every day, but I wasn't as specific. And he's definitely an anomaly. Like I never have a dull moment with this new one. But those are great stories to hear. So you said that you recommended a book, Marquel, but is there anything or any gems that you would like to drop as we close out? Just like if there's any advice or anything that you live by, any words that you live by that you would like to share with moms that are out there, or even if it's something new that you discovered as of late. Anything that you think that people should know before we get off of the podcast?
So I kind of feel like, for sure, mothers, like we have this whole community and you never really know about, like I wasn't obviously in the community, right? So when I have my son now, you're in the community of like moms. And it's so amazing to see different mothers, like they give us gems, they give it different pieces. Like I remember talking to you on the phone, Candace, and you were like, oh, don't worry. I was reading a book. She was like, you don't have to read the whole book to him. Point out certain things to him that he can focus on without having to read everything. And I have one of my other friends, Kayla, who's a speech pathologist. She mentioned the same thing. I'm out here reading, and the bear said, like they can't physically like comprehend that. Like you literally point out purple. That's a bear, tree, triangle. So you're not really having to read the whole thing, but of course, eventually, yes, you'll get to that point where you read the entire book and they can comprehend what's happening. But especially in the early ages, Candace, you was like, just show him the colors of the book. They see that book anyways. So you don't have to physically, Candace was Marquis, she was like, you don't have to physically read that thing to him. She was like, show him the colors and the trees and the stars. I forgot what she was talking about. She was like, yeah, show the stars and stuff. Just show him, point to him certain things so he can physically see it. You have to read the whole thing, but that's helpful information because as a mom, you put your baby to sleep, and I don't have a nighttime routine. Marquis, Candace has a nighttime routine down. Them babies are down. Like them babies are down like 9 o'clock. She calling me for wine at 9:30. Okay.
Yes, I am. Okay.
So I'm like, girl, Max still running around behind me. I'm like, girl, I cannot wait to get on that level. But she has a routine for sure. But it really helps to have a tribe of other women to help us on this journey because, like I said, I mean, you had mentioned it before, and I may have been on mute. But about other people not reaching out to you, it's literally like when you get to the moms club, all the other people that aren't moms, they don't understand. So me personally, I probably didn't even reach out to you as much because I wasn't pregnant. You know what I mean? I'm not in your shoes at that time.
Well, you came to visit me.
Well, yes, I sure did. Okay. I came to see little Faith now. But yes, but once you're in the position of motherhood, a whole tribe comes to help you, and a whole tribe is a whole community that we just help each other out. And I really love that because I tell people all the time, I got this YouTube called Miss Monica, and that's Maxwell's preschool. He literally be on Miss Monica every single day. He watches a new episode of Miss Monica.
I know about Monica.
Okay, you know about Miss Monica now, circle time. But yeah, he does it every single day. And I learned that from Marquis' friend BK. She told me, like, you need to get him on Miss Monica. That's the wave. And I was like, Miss Monica, who is that? So it's a lot of different tips and techniques that a lot of people share with us that help you to become a better parent, to help you become a better person, and especially for your child. And I really enjoyed that. Motherhood is it's a good community because everybody really is telling you something that you hear it, of course, all advice is not good advice, but you hear certain things and you really want to put it to the test. So I really appreciate the tribe of motherhood.
Amazing. I agree with you too. Yeah. While I did lose some people, I did gain more. You're right. I still need people to go out and party with us. So that's coming soon. We're going to have moms always invited. Soon.
Listen, Marquis just went somewhere recently to this Crave bar, and she had a baby in a stroller. They was like, he's not 21, ma'am.
It was a dessert bar, and we thought that we could just go and just order some cupcakes.
They was like, no, honey, he's not 21.
I can't. They silly. So Marquis, how do you feel? Anything that you want to share with us that you've learned in the last 3 months?
What I've learned in the last 3 months is continue to smile, keep praying over your child. I when he looks at me and look at me in the eye, I just feel like I created you. I was like, I can't believe this little bitty boy is like mine. I'm like, yeah, I'm telling him, you're gonna be great, you're gonna be awesome, you're gonna be wealthy. I'm just giving him all these positive affirmations to him. And it's good to see him now. He's smiling, and he's more on the serious side, right about he's serious, but he loves to smile. What I guess I would tell moms is would be, do what you feel is best for your child. I mean, I can't compare everything to my sister or anybody else. You got to do what is best for you and your child. And I know that, with me, breastfeeding, I had started that, and it was just too much for me. Nobody told me that it was going to hurt to breastfeed now. They did not tell me that at all. Not even my sister. She didn't tell me that. Nobody. And I just was in a place like, this is hurting me. I don't know how I'm going to do it, how I'm going to keep going with it. And so then I was able to supplement, but just knowing that you're doing what's best for your child. And that's what matters. That's really what matters. As long as you're doing what's best for your child, that's what matters. And it really doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. As long as you're happy with it, that's just how it is.
Or what anybody else thinks. Because everybody
got anybody else thinks.
And it doesn't mean it's right.
Right.
Exactly. And those are words to live by. And we're going to close with that. And thank you both. Thank you both for joining me on the Moms Always Invited podcast. Of course, I have to have the CEO moms back, but thanks for your time today, and peace, love, and light.
Thanks for having us, Candace.
Thank you, Candace.